Hey everybody, I wanted to provide our analysis on our recent trade in SBUX. We played a call option on this last week, and as you can see, this trade did not go in our favor at all. Just kind of wanted to touch on what mistakes I made personally when alerting and buying this stock, and also kind of go over the Greeks of the option and why I don't think it's a good hold at this point in time due to the Greeks that are within the specific call that we made. So as you can see, our entry, we entered just above $53 on the first day after the news, and it obviously continued to slide further. And then the last 2 days haven't really got a ton of movement in the right direction. I ended up exiting today for a pretty substantial loss. First thing I wanted to touch on is the fact that I broke one of my main rules on this trade, and I'm sure you guys are pretty aware of this when you ask me in chat. A lot of times I'll get asked in chat, a stock that just completed earnings, their stock price went through the roof or it went way down, and people always ask, oh, hey, should I buy a call here or buy a put here since the movement was so drastic? And I always stick to the same rule, give it 3 to 5 days after the news or the earnings prior to trading that stock. Give it a couple days to settle, and then you can kind of see where it's at and if if the trade still looks attractive at that point in time. SBUX, first day the news came out, I bought it, and this is the first time I've done this trading options where I traded a stock that had news. So kind of a fitting situation in which I lost money on this when I broke one of my main rules. So I'm sure you guys are very aware of that. I've mentioned it a million times in chat, and then I went ahead and broke that rule specifically on SBUX. Ended up catching a falling knife here on this SBUX trade as it consistently went down further on the news that it had. And then, as you can see here, the market hasn't been doing us any favors either. Been a pretty bearish market the past few days, which hasn't really helped the recovery of SBUX. But as you can see now, this stock has fallen 4 days. Basically, there's 4 days here of data. You can start to see now there's a little bit of a base near $50.50. This is what I would have been talking about. Give it 3 or 4 days, let things settle out, and then buy. Now, at this level here, a call on SBUX doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty attractive, actually. But from where we bought it and how far down we are and the Greeks that are made up within the option that we're in, just really doesn't look very good for a recovery on that one. So it's just a rule that I personally stick by always, and I broke that rule on this trade. My apologies for those of you that lost money on this trade. Just not a smart decision on my part. I broke one of my main rules that I trade by, and this is what happens when you don't follow your own rules that you set. So switching gears, I wanted to break down the option itself that it's currently at. So the option is currently at 18 cents. I kind of wanted to break down why I don't think this is going to move and why I exited the trade today. So as you can see, the delta here that I have underlined at 12 cents, that means that for every dollar the stock goes up, this option is going to increase 12 cents. And then I also have the theta underlined here at 1 cent, and that means that every day the option is losing 1 cent. So you might think, oh, 1 cent isn't that bad, but on 17 or 18 cents, that's almost 10% of the option you're losing every day to theta, which is time decay. And then the delta on it isn't very attractive at this point at just under 13 cents. That means, most of us average in at 50 or 60 cents. We need this thing to go up $4 to $5 to break even. It's a tall ask on a $50 stock. We basically need almost a 10% increase in SBUX to make our money back. So looking at those, I thought it'd be best just for me to cut my losses and move on to another play. And the hope is to use the funds that I sold SBUX for and turn those funds into some bigger gains on other plays and allow myself to recoup some of the loss in SBUX. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is the implied volatility. I notice a lot of you guys asking why is when the stock is moving, is the option price not moving very much? This is the other mistake that was made when we made this trade. I bought the option with a fairly high volatility. The implied volatility was high because the stock was falling. Volatility generally is higher when the stock is moving a lot in either direction, whether it's down or up. So obviously SBUX was moving down heavily, so the volatility was fairly high when we bought in relativity to its normal volatility. Usually, average volatility is between 15-20%. And when I bought this option, we were in the 30 or 40 percentile in volatility. So what happens is, as you notice, the last couple of days, Starbucks has been kind of trading a little bit sideways, hasn't really had any big swings up or down. So that means the volatility starts to drop. Well, that is one of the factors in the price of the option. If volatility starts going down, the option price goes down. And as volatility goes up, the option price goes up. So this is why one of the good strategies to have is look for options that have they're doing lower volatility than they usually do, because that's usually an indicator that the volatility is going to go up. So even if the stock's not moving a ton upwards, if the volatility is going up, your option price is increasing, and vice versa. If the volatility is going down, your option volume or your option price is decreasing. So in this case, obviously, if Starbucks is moving up, we might not be getting as big of a movement in the option price as we would expect, because the volatility is not anywhere close to as high as when we bought the option. So that's the details that I have on this Starbucks trade. Again, apologies for this trade. Multiple broken rules for myself in trading this stock. I had a passion feeling that this was going to reverse quickly on the news based off of just an overreaction. Didn't follow my own rules. Got busted pretty hard for a big loss because of that. I also went over the Greeks and the volatility and why this is going to be a challenge to make your money back on this trade. So, as always, I'll continue to do our video analysis. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something from it, and it's a learning lesson for future trades. As always, if you have any questions for me, just feel free to hit me up in our chat room.